Styanax Prime is finally here. I'm recording this on the 16th and Styanax Prime releases tomorrow on the 17th. So I just wanted to make this short video and get it out today to show you the 3 builds I run on Styanax. Obviously, if you can tell by my channel theme, Styanax is my second most played frame. And I also didn't do this intentionally, but all 3 builds use one of Styanax's augments, all 3 of them. So just getting into the one that I'm sure everyone knows, Intrepid Stand. There isn't too much to say about this build. The subsume is nourished because the viral damage applies to your spears because the spears count as weapon damage, and the spears counting as weapon damage means you can use Arcane Arachne to get a damage buff on them, and I do not have this Arcane leveled at all because I am lazy. And the other Arcane here is called Arcane Truth Saloons, and what that does is releases a pulse that does max viral stacks every time you gain 3000 overguard. So the synergy between that and Intrepid Stand is pretty insane. And for this build, you just want a proper mix of strength, range, and duration, for the reason that your explosion range on your spear scales with range, the explosion damage scales with strength, and the number of javelins you throw scales with duration. And then the augment Intrepid Stand, the overguard generation and the overguard cap scales with strength as well. So this is just the bread and butter Styanax build everyone knows. You get a really good subsume, gives you viral damage on your spears, nourishes energy boost, works with your rally point, and you get insane like free energy for everyone. Your 2 should be 100% armor stripping enemies, and generally this build works for all content, just infinite overguard, you can't really die, and nukes rooms really well, so I can't really say much more about that. I'm sure that's the one everyone's going to be building first tomorrow. So I'm going to move over to config B here, and I am not going to talk too in depth about this because I have a whole video on this build, because this is the build for my last video. But to cut it short, this build is maximizing your shield to get the highest possible crit damage buff from his passive, and then using the augment for Theros lethality, which increases the crit damage enemies that are armor stripped take. And because these bonuses are doubled for spear guns, this is the build you're going to want to be using a Fentis Prime with if you're planning on using a Fentis Prime, and hopefully it's good. The main thing is you're using Expertise and Electric Elemental Ward with Prime Redirection to get a Colossal Shield, which will give you a lot of crit chance. So because I made a whole video on that, where I'm just going to put that. Now my third config here, using Axios Javelineers, which is the augment for Styanax's first ability, is an interesting one, because I'm actually using him as a melee platform here. The augment on Styanax's 1 actually is pretty decent for grouping enemies, and we're using the Subsume Wrathful Advance, and if you combine this with a very high crit damage melee weapon like a Scythe or something, you can group enemies and just nuke them. And also when you group enemies, you can armor strip them all with this too. So this is just my set of Archon shards that I use for all my Styanax builds, where we're going to run 1 casting speed for the quality of life, then just 2 strength and 2 duration. I just quickly wanted to show off some gameplay for the first and third build, not the second one. So first one, I'm just going to keep this brief because I think everyone has seen this before. But you use your rally point, you use your nourish, you get a ton of energy, and then you wall latch and use your 4, and you're just absolutely nuking enemies. You're getting the Arachne damage buff, you're getting the viral damage from Nourish, and then you're doing the viral pulses from Trusculence, or however you say that. And yeah, there's really nothing bad to say about this build. You're immortal, you nuke enemies, you're pretty much like the best energy generation frame in the game besides Harrow. This build is just Styanax's go-to. So moving on to the more interesting build, we have my third one, which was the crit platform, using Styanax's Axios Javelineers augment for his first ability. And what we're doing here is just using his 1 to group the enemies. In this build, I'm using Hate, which is a pretty decent crit weapon. You kind of just want to use any melee weapon that's going to do a ton of damage with Wrathful Advance, which is the subsume you use in this build. And as you can see, his 1 groups enemies extremely well. And you can use your 2 to armor strip them because they're all in the same place, and then follow it up with a Wrathful Advance, and they pretty much all die. And honestly, the survivability on this build isn't bad either, because if you can see on the minimap, enemies can't really do anything. They're all just stuck. Like, the CC effect from his augment is really strong. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This was just supposed to be a short video to show off some builds you can run before his Prime comes out tomorrow. I may be streaming tomorrow, I'm not sure yet, but I definitely will try and get a video out this Friday. But yeah, other than that, see ya.